What's up, everybody? Welcome to another theme parking. It has been a couple of weeks since we had one of these, and it's a little late here on the East Coast, but I figured it's always a good time to get together and chat with you guys over some of the latest things in theme parks and all that good stuff. But as always, I'll introduce the crew here. I'm joined by Mr. Orange Grove 55. Sir, how are you doing, and where can everybody find you on the interwebs?
Well, well, you can find me right here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55, talking theme parks. A lot of times with these fine gentlemen right here, we talk theme parks, we talk studio, movies, all kinds of good stuff. And yeah, I can't wait to dive into. We have a lot of great topics today. It's going to be a lot of fun. Jared, I want to thank you for being an amazing host as always, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The check is in the mail, of course. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And we have, well, I would say it is George the Italiano. You'll always be George the Italiano, but George recently had a channel rebrand. So the Citrico Central is now, is that Hollow Gelato? Okay, I'm going to mess it up. You tell me how you say it.
It's Hollow Gelato.
Hollow Gelato. I went with, I was thinking gel, and I don't know why, but Hollow Gelato. So George, welcome back. And where can everybody find you on your booming channel? That is, I need to figure out what you're doing. You're doing very well.
I'm trying to figure out within myself of what I'm doing, because literally I went to bed, I woke up with another like 300 to 400 subscribers, and it's just going bonkers. So I mean, perfect time to get a rebrand and kind of get a fresh start and everything. But yeah, you can find me on Hollow Gelato, my YouTube channel, where basically I'm out into the parks, doing lots of stuff at Disneyland and Universal, and also on the East Coast as well with Walt Disney World, Universal Orlando, Disney Cruise Line, all that good jazz. And you can also find me on Instagram under Hollow Gelato as well.
Awesome stuff. Well, I can tell you what's helped your channel was clearly the bidet talk we had. We have
I'm telling you, I will say after that, it really took off. I mean, so I guess that skyrocketing of the water that shoots up,
maybe it was a correlation. Ever since, it was funny because it started happening after that, and then like we joked about it, and I was like, maybe there is something to bidet talk. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it really gets people going.
We might have to have a bidet part 2.
Maybe I want to try it and see what it does. Maybe it does really well. But yeah,
bidet do.
Ooh,
bidet dude.
How about the bidet dudes? And it's all about reviewing bidets, and we force theme park conductor in here to just torture him.
That's a 3-pointer all net right there. Man.
Yeah. And the funny part about, if anybody missed it, there was a live stream we had on, you were covering it on your channel about the Destination D23, and I hopped in after my live stream here, and it went off the rails. We got to talk about, somehow we got on the topic of bidets, and it lasted for an hour and a half with the chat and everybody ganging up on theme park conductor. But the next day, because he works at Costco, he said he literally had to unload a pallet of bidets, and he was like, "I'm not even kidding you." And I was like,
he did, because he texted me that morning, and he just said, like, literally all it was just one, like 2 words. He just texted me, and I didn't know what it was for, and he just said, "You asshole," and I'm.
So he called me, and I said hello, and that's what he said to me. He goes, "You asshole." I'm like, "What did I do?" And he was like, he told me, and I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. Like,
and honestly, probably too, like the best way, I think, if we did do a continuation of bidet, that literally we should just, like, as we end it, we just go deuces.
Deuces. Exactly.
I love it. And we're also joined by Mr. Slime Square, who looks like he is modeling for Calvin Klein. You look good.
American Eagle. Underneath this shirt, I'm wearing a jean pant. Okay.
Ooh,
that's risky. Yeah, I'll send you guys the postcards, and everybody else is gonna have to pay for it. But thanks for having me on, Jared. Thanks for everybody that's in the chat. I know it's late. Jacob Weller, appreciate you hanging around. If you got to go to bed, the video will be here for you to see tomorrow. Definitely check it out. As far as where you can find me right here on YouTube, and you can find me over on X at Slime Square. And now you can find me over at Instagram at SlimeSquare84. And I do apologize, I don't have the plain white background today. So for those of you that enjoy plain white walls, we have something different. So I do apologize.
I do. You do have a passenger behind you, I see, in the chair, huh?
Yeah, right over here. Where's he at? This guy, Grogu.
I want to kick that thing through a field goal post is what I want.
I will say, Slimer, though, I was kind of hoping that when Jared said, are you kind of like modeling for Calvin Klein, I was kind of hoping you were saying you were wearing the purple underwear,
Oh, it would be funny if you were on a white background. You would just be a floating head, though, with your white shirt. It would just be, that'd be interesting. Conan did a bit of it. But let's say hi to the chat before we get into our first topic. Here we got Jacob Weller. Jacob was waiting for a while. Sorry, but late. I was on a live stream with our private group and it ran a little late, so I apologize for being a little late here. So I'm sorry if I kept you up, but I'm glad you're here. We got Storybook Sorceress. We have Brandon Fedrick, who says, "Yo, hola, hola, hello." Remy,
Hola.
what's up, Remy? And a couple. Okay, I think we're all caught up on there. And at least those are the ones that comment. Anybody else in the chat, thank you for being here. And we're going to get into our first topic. Now, we're not, so on this channel, I have covered, and if anybody hadn't heard, there was an awful thing happened at Epic Universal Stardust Racers. A guest died while riding Stardust Racers. There's a lot of details with it. Jacob said he couldn't sleep. That's fair. We can help you go to sleep. We'll soothe you to sleep.
We'll do a little, hey, Jacob, we'll do a little ASMR for you. A little.
There we go. We'll just start whispering.
ASMR.
Those creep me out so much. I don't know why people like ASMR, but I get it has an audience for it.
Guilty.
Do you
I
like
do
it?
I do.
it.
Yeah.
It's just something I don't know what it is
See,
with me.
because here's the thing. See, there's different layers of ASMR. See, I can't stand the food chewing. Like if I hear the food chewing, that that doesn't just not only like keep me up or make me fall asleep. That just downright pisses me off.
Yeah. Like smacking food is just
Smacking food. Yeah, like I don't want to see what you're eating like with your mouth open.
Well,
like,
if you're eating with me, you're going to want some background noise going because I am a loud chewer.
I kind of am too. I'm quieter
Yeah.
than I used to be, but me and my brother grew up and like my mom would get mad at us because we eat like we're just like we had never seen food. And my mom would be like, everyone's gonna think you're like you're needy children. I'm like, we're just hungry. I don't know what to tell
Do
you.
you do one of these around your plate?
Oh yeah. Because we would try and steal food from each other all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But well, sorry. Get back to what I was saying here. There was a terrible incident at Epic Universe. I guess Road Stardust Racers and passed away. There are some details around that. I have quite a few videos on it, so if you guys want to go check that out, those are much more in depth. But essentially, to summarize it, Rode the Ride. There was blunt force trauma. It seems from his lawyers that somehow his head hit a metal part on it, is what they're claiming. It is shut down. There is going to be an impending lawsuit over this, I am sure, given the attorney that the family has hired for this. So it's a very sad situation all around. So first off, thoughts and prayers to his family because it's a terrible thing to have that happen, undoubtedly. But we're not going to really discuss that because I don't feel like going into the details of that. But I am curious. So today there was a little bit. And if anybody has any questions about it, we can of course talk about it. But we had got together to talk about this since it happened. So I'm curious what your guys' reaction to some of this stuff is. But we do know, as of today, there is a lawsuit off the heels of this incident here, where a woman is suing Universal Studios off of her ride at Stardust Racers back in April. Now, I will say this one seems very ambulance chasing-ish, given... Did you guys see the video of the attorney that she hired?
Yeah.
He may be a great lawyer. He just struck me as Better Call Saul in many ways. But
100%.
Yeah, it had very this first time he had tied a tie maybe. But anyways, she is suing Universal, claiming it was basically like it jerked her head around. It was rough on her, saying that there were damages and things. So I think there's going to be a lot more things coming out. A lot of people are probably going to start suing over this potentially. But I'm more or less curious, what do you guys think about the potential like fallout from this? Do you guys think that Stardust Racers will change? Do you think that there will be like regulation change? Like I am very curious about, I'm sure this is going to end up in court. This may take years, and I'm sure Stardust Racers at some point is going to open again. I don't believe this ride is going to close down forever. Maybe you guys think it will, but what we might see coming out of this and how this could affect like other roller coasters at Universal and really probably worldwide potentially.
I think honestly, it's not surprising that another lawsuit is like coming out of the woodwork with this, because now it's gained a lot of traction, a lot of media attention and what have you. And it's probably not going to be the last one. More people are probably going to come out saying, oh, well, Stardust Racers did this to me, did that to me. And I really wish that and I can believe it, but I think it's just the fact that people wait for something drastic to happen to say, hey, this could better my case. So I find that as a little bit of an insult that you're taking someone's death, someone's passing. And it's like, well, how can I kind of capitalize on that? It's very sad in a way. But again, I'm not saying that their claims aren't true, and that's where they do have a case, because prior to this guy's passing, there have been several cases with this particular ride that there have been issues where people were coming off feeling chest pain, numbness, injury to the neck. Actually, again, I said this before, but I'll definitely say it again, where when I was down in the hospital for my kidney stones down in Orlando, someone came in with back issues and whiplash from Stardust Racers. So it's definitely something to be looked at. But I think this is something I feel like that they will keep the ride unless there's a continuing pattern that issue after issue after issue. But I do think there will be modifications to this ride, possibly with the vehicles themselves, the harnesses, and not even just this ride. I think honestly, moving forward with whatever is going to replace Rip Ride Rocket and the roller coaster that we're getting over here with Fast and Furious, I mean, I think Universal's definitely going to have to look into how they do the restraints with these really top thrilling roller coasters.
Here's the thing with this, right? Is that you're right, George. Now that we have the main situation where the gentleman unfortunately lost his life, you're going to have a lot of people, like Conductor saying in the chat, come out of the woodwork. Oh yeah, I got dizzy that day back in May when I rode it. And all these people are going to start suing now, right? And here's the thing: this ride. Obviously I trust Universal. I trust Universal that they follow the safety code and all that stuff. My concern though with all of this is that as a company, is Universal gonna want to continue to take a beating in court over a lot of this kind of stuff for an attraction? So something's gonna have to give here, because I see this is kind of the beginning of a lot of stuff down the road. And either they're going to have to do what George was suggesting, is modify the attraction. Hopefully they don't shut it down. We've had issues out here in California where they've done stuff like that. We used to have a Jolly Trolley out here in Toontown that used to kind of go through the land and everything, and people got hurt. They sued, what have you, and now it's no more. They got rid of it. So it's not unprecedented for these lawsuits to occur, and a company will get rid of the attraction. I hope that's not the case here. And also on the PR front, even if this is my opinion, but even if Universal is correct and they did nothing wrong and this attraction is 100% safe, having these attorneys out there in the media and doing all these pressers about how this ride is so unsafe and yada, 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 it's tough. It's a PR hit, because even if the accusations are false and incorrect, you're still going to have a segment of the population believing it, because you have a lot of normies. They don't dig into this stuff like we do here, right? They're going to look at the headline and they're going to go, oh, I'm not going on that thing, So unfortunately, what I'm saying? So it's going to take, Universal is going to take a hit both on the PR, in court probably too. It's expensive to fight these things, and it's a tough situation. And also people can say, well, Universal, they can just settle, but problem with settling though too is that unfortunately people see that as an act of an admission of guilt. Even though that's not true though, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think they're kind of stuck, because I will say Universal. So there's still an investigation ongoing. Universal made a statement to their team members and said the ride functioned as it was supposed to that night, and then the investigators even came out and said it's technically being investigated as a manslaughter case due to the type of death. It's just kind of where that investigation is categorically, but they came out and actually said they agreed with Universal that the ride, there was no catastrophic, nothing came off the ride didn't do something weird that night. It operated as it was intended to operate. But I think they're kind of in a tough spot, because if you settle, you're right, it's going to kind of look maybe bad, but I don't think they also want to take a deceased family to court and fight it in court. You know what I mean? So they're kind of in a spot where in these places Disney makes settlements all the time. So I think it will likely end in a settlement, if I were to guess, given the lawyer that they have hired, which is Ben Crump, and he is a very high-end civil rights attorney. He was the attorney with the family that young boy died at the Icon Park in Orlando a few years ago, and that one was there was a lot of issues there that they passed through all the safety stuff. But Slimer, what do you think about this?
Well, I think the problem that Universal Studios is running into, and actually, I believe the lawyer pointed it out in the statement, Ben Crump, that is that he's looking for culpability essentially. And even though the Universal Studios has all the warning signs, and despite the fact that this guy had a known medical issue, which is that he was a paraplegic, culpability is really what matters here. And the reason I do think it's going to go to settlements is because Universal did something which honestly goes against standard protocol for the team members that are loading guests onto the ride systems themselves. And that's that. If I believe, and I could be mistaken, but I believe that the guest has to be able to move themselves unaided or aided by a family member, but not aided by a team member, from a wheelchair to the actual roller coaster train themselves. Now, in this particular instance, from what I understand, the guest was actually moved with the help of a team member.
That's what his attorney is claiming.
That's what he's claiming. Yeah.
That's what they're claiming, is that a team member helped him onto the coaster. But yeah, you're right. They're not supposed to touch. I've had a few team members reach out to me and they said it is a huge no-no. Like, you are not supposed to help anybody that is disabled onto a ride. But yeah, that is what they're claiming.
Well, and that's something that I think is going to be easily proven or disproven, because even though phones aren't allowed on the attraction, Universal has cameras everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Jared, if you could, I sent you a chat GPT where I actually found some case studies here.
Yeah, let me bring that up,
because I think this is really pertinent to what the outcome is going to be. And when you pull that up, just scroll about halfway down, you're going to see, let's see, 1, 2, 3 legal precedent, 3 precedences. You can see 3 legal precedences that were covered here.
Yeah, so we got access versus safety. You have the ADA line. This was a case, Access Now versus Walt Disney World. Disability advocates sued Disney, arguing that Disney's ride restrictions, excluding some disabled riders, violated the ADA. The court sided with Disney, as they cited safety comes first. Disney demonstrated that certain rides required muscle control, balance, or limb use to avoid catastrophic injury. And the court held that the ADA does not require allowing access if it poses a genuine safety risk, which is a whole other wrinkle in this, because like you said, he did have a spinal cord injury. There are numerous warnings on this ride. If you have back issues, you have neck issues, if even if you are on blood pressure medication, they say not to ride. It's obviously heart issues. So there's plenty of warnings on this about if you have these ailments, to not ride this. So that is one of them there. Number 2 is when safety warnings weren't enough. You have McCurry versus Chevy Chase Bank and Six Flags, and a rider with a prosthetic leg was injured on a Six Flags roller coaster. The ride had restrictions requiring secure limb bracing, but the prosthetic compromised his restraint. The lawsuit alleged negligence because Six Flags employees allowed him to ride despite posted requirements. The case underscored if staff overrode or ignored restrictions, the company can be found negligent. And then the third one you have is Campbell versus Universal Studios in 2010. A paraplegic guest was denied access to a ride requiring torso control. The guest sued for discrimination under the ADA. Universal did win that. The court ruled that the denial was not discriminatory, since safety-based exclusions are permitted under federal law. So those are some of the case studies out there, are things that have been set up a precedent in court. I think if you're looking at this, if a team member did help him onto the ride, I think that is where they will focus this on.
Exactly, because it creates legal culpability. Now, Brian in the chat says that is what the attorney was claiming, is that a team member helped them on is not true, because I'm assuming Brian's a team member.
He is a team member. Yeah.
Yep. So Brian, if they're impressing on their employees to not touch, this person is going to create this legal liability loophole that the attorney is going to take advantage of. Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting to see what evidence comes forth, because if he's claiming somebody helped them on, whether verbally or physically, then they have a case. But if not, unfortunately, this is going to be strictly on the family and the guest that unfortunately was killed in this particular instance.
Yeah, and Remy D even said, if I can find it, she said, "I remember Disney cast members refusing to help my obese friend with fitting into a ride. They asked that we help him."
Right.
And I have seen that before, where some people think it's mean, but it actually is for this situation. Because if you, and I actually know this, my wife used to run she ran a student housing property, and whenever it would snow and ice in Missouri, they were told, do not put salt down, do not even you get any snowplowers out there, because if you do that, if you're trying to help the situation out and somebody falls, then the culpability is on the company. Whereas if it just snows and there's ice, it's just nature, which sounds crazy that you're trying to help people, but this is how the law goes. So that's why they cannot, or they're not supposed to help them. I agree with Brian. I've had 4 or 5 team members message me and say, I do not believe that a team member helped him onto the ride, because they said that is like nailed into team members, like, do not do that. So if they did that, obviously I think that team member probably would lose their job, and I think then you're talking millions that the company's going to lose, probably, because that's what they would focus on.
Now, is that okay? Hypothetical, right? Let's just say the team member did help the gentleman onto the ride. Is that team member now personally, legally responsible for what happens, or are they protected because they were an employee for Universal?
That's a good question. I would assume it would fall under the Universal umbrella because they're a representative of the company. And really, I mean, a team member is not going to be able to pay out millions of dollars, so they would focus on the company.
Yeah.
I think because they were acting on behalf of the company, that Universal would be liable and not the actual team member.
Yeah,
But
that'd be my guess.
But what's interesting from the case law is that if you look at cases 1 and 3, Universal Studios could have completely avoided this situation had they, let's again hypothetically assume that the team member did, which again we don't know for a fact until the evidence surfaces. But it is not considered discrimination to not assist or to somebody that has a medical condition that that should not or cannot ride that ride, as case law has proven. So any lawsuits of discrimination that were made against Universal or Disney or any other theme park company were actually dismissed because the care and the care of the guest takes precedence over any sort of assumed or proposed discriminatory behavior.
Yeah. And what they're alleging, just this picture, this is of Stardust Racers, of course, but is that they're saying he hit, we're assuming his head on this metal bar here. And so I think they're also going after the team member that may have helped, is what they're claiming. But they would also be, undoubtedly, this is a Mack Rides attraction. They would be then going after Universal and Mack Rides, basically claiming that they have an unsafe attraction. Would be the other part of this as well, which is, I think that gets interesting, because if that does happen and say that they are found culpable, these lap bars are kind of the new thing. I mean, Velocicoaster's got that way. There's a lot of, and I know Conductor talked about it and somebody else about, could this affect Hollywood Drift that's coming out there in Universal Hollywood? Because that's going to be a lap bar, I believe, is it?
Yep, it's lap bar.
Yeah.
Yep.
So does this mean the lap bar type of rides would they have to change them? And I think this is the fallout you're thinking of here, is like, I imagine, even if Universal comes out of this and they're found that they didn't do anything wrong, I still imagine they may make some changes to this ride and maybe other ones.
Yeah, I would assume so, Jared, because number one, like I said before too, like they're gonna take a PR hit with this thing, regardless of whether they were found to be doing no wrong, having no wrongdoing, right? Even if the ride comes back as 100% safe, they're still going to take a black eye, right? With the PR, they're going to have to do something to sort of like make good with that PR, to sort of say, hey, look, you know what? We had this incident, in an abundance of caution, we decided to update our restraints. You know what I'm saying? They're going to have to make some sort of move like that, even if this wasn't their fault. I think it would be something they would have to do for obviously for optics reasons. You know what I'm saying? Now,
Yeah.
if it was the cause though of the gentleman's death, then they have to. They have no choice. But I don't know. I mean, I hate to say one way or the other, but it's just like Universal is such a major entity in this theme park space. I mean, they're only second to Disney, really, right? And I would find it hard to believe that they wouldn't they wouldn't follow code, right? And this is a brand new, it's not like an old ride. This is something that just opened in May. So I don't know. I would be very, very surprised if this thing didn't meet code. I don't know. Am I being overly?
Well, I feel like it has to. I mean, the way it works in these major theme parks at Disney and Universal, and I'm not sure about other parks, but they don't have state inspectors because they do their own inspections, but they have to report injuries and things that happen. And I think on some level, you still have inspectors coming in various points to check these rides out, but they're tested every single day. I had a ride operator message me and said we all know this because we are into theme parks, but every morning they're testing all these rides. And this is why a lot of times you won't see a ride open sometimes, an established ride is because they ran the test and something came back and it wasn't running right and they have to go in and fix it. So they're always testing these rides. And if the situation is nothing, Universal saying the ride operated as it was supposed to, then the only thing I suppose on Universal's in, again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm just guessing from a dude that is from Missouri, but if Universal built the ride to code and Mac Ride built it, does that then fall? I mean, it probably would maybe fall on Universal, but then it would be the code that allowed this ride. If it passed everything, then you're talking about, do they update code to make changes?
Right. And here's the other thing too. If you could bring up, Jared, please bring up Jersey Kevin 27. The distance between the rows of seats are way too close. That's interesting, Kevin, that you brought that up, because that was actually something that I was kind of noticing too when looking at this picture. They do seem pretty close. Now, to be fair though, I haven't been on this attraction.
I haven't
Jared, Slimer, you have, right?
Yeah, I've been on this attraction, and George has been on this attraction as well. Now, when I sat on the front row exclusively, so I really can't speak for my experience sitting behind a chair. But just upon this, I do get the impression that it's close. Is it too close? I really don't know. You would think that the engineers would factor that into the actual engineering. I think these are safety precautions, which you would think would be, well documented and well practiced in an industry that has been making roller coasters for over 100 years. I mean, the safety precautions are very strenuous. They're very strenuous for the roller coaster industry. There's so many liabilities. I mean, the manufacturer for the drop ride, where the poor guest was unfortunately killed in Fun Spot Orlando in 2023, I believe. I mean, it ended up being a $310 million settlement.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the safety precautions are extremely high. Are there faults and gaps? Unfortunately, when you're manufacturing ride systems like this, which are complex, despite the amount of knowledge in engineering safety data, I mean, it's very possible for there to be instances where, a very unfortunate incident can slip through the cracks. So, I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. Again, we don't have all the facts. Right. So, I mean, we can't say one or another. I think what Jersey's saying is a possibility. And it's a possibility I think they're going to take into consideration when they're
well, yeah, 100%, Summer. And the other thing too is it kind of like when you look at what happened with this gentleman, the autopsy said that he had multiple blunt force injuries. Well, I mean, with the rows being so close to each other, and then if you take that and then with what his injuries were, you kind of do the math. You're like, okay, I could see how that might have some correlation. And again, this is us speculating, but there might be something there with that. Who knows? Who knows?
I'm for sure. I wonder how many people they reached out that actually was on the ride with him at that particular time. Like not like know what was going on, but maybe was there a witness that may have seen something come off the vehicle? Did they see something coming off the track? Did they see him kind of moving in a way where he's trying to get someone's attention? I'm very curious, and that's probably something that won't be released to the public just yet. They may still be trying to locate these people and interview them, but I'm very curious to see if anyone noticed anything that was out of the ordinary. And I know when you're on a roller coaster, especially something like this, you're not paying attention to any of that. You're just in the moment, you're enjoying the ride, but there could possibly be someone out there that noticed something. But I find it very odd with this particular roller coaster. I'm not saying that you can't get injured. I mean, a person could get injured on a carousel, but just in comparison of how I know Velocicoaster is, I'm just surprised of how many issues that this ride has gotten It's not even a year old yet. It's like literally right out of the gate from spring moving into summer. Now we're moving into fall, and it had how many issues and already one death. And for a ride like Velocicoaster, for me, that seems to be more intense. I'm really wondering, what is it with this particular coaster that is causing so many issues?
Well, here's the thing though that we also have to keep in mind, George, too, is that because of the death, the ride is under more scrutiny. So we don't Velocicoaster could have instances that we're not aware of, but those aren't being reported because no one died on it yet. I mean, well, not yet. I don't want to say yet.
But there were people that were mentioning I mean, probably more stuff, but even before the death, people were mentioning issues with Stardust that they're not like, I'm for sure that they would have come off and say, oh my gosh, Velocicoaster made me feel like this and this. I mean, to the norm, like people say, man, that made me feel sick. I'm never doing that again. That's completely different where you're coming off a roller coaster and you're saying that your limbs feel numb.
Yeah, that was the one thing, George, that when I saw that, I was with the gentleman, right? It was the guy, and he was young. He was like in his 30s, dude.
Yeah.
And he came off, he said he couldn't feel his arms and stuff. So, like, that's kind of weird.
The news had reported this, and I can only find reported 2 instances. Now, of course, there could be more if people maybe didn't report it to Universal, but there were 2 instances of a gentleman that was like 49 years old and a woman that was like in her 50s. Both of them had pre-existing conditions. I think the woman felt dizzy, and the man, I think, had, maybe it was his back. I can't remember. It was something. Those are the only 2 that I think are reported, because that's what the news reported also. So I'm wondering how much of this is what gets reported and how much of this just is people wrote it. Maybe they felt a certain way, and now they're actually out saying like, oh yeah, I felt this way too. Now my wife wrote this, and she loves coasters. She said it, I mean, she likes the ride. She said it's a very intense coaster. It does have G-forces. We do know trim brakes were added during the construction to slow down some of the G-forces on a certain portion of it. I think you'd be talking about the G-forces. And there was a gentleman, I'll have to find his channel, but he's an EMT in Orlando, that not at Universal, but he did a video talking about what likely could have happened. And he was saying, when you do have people that are wheelchair bound, if you look at the photo of the victim, he has a belt on in his wheelchair, because he said a lot of times they tend to just fall forward. So he already may have had a predisposition of being unable to kind of keep his torso upright, perhaps. Again, this is just speculation and trying to be as respectful as possible. And with the G-forces, that could have just been more than and that may have been the issue here. Yeah. He alludes to the fact that you could see changes. They did add some of these seats on this ride to accommodate larger guests. And again, this is his speculation that they may do away with that because of, he's like, I don't believe, he's like, I don't know this, but this gentleman may not have been able to ride if it was a normal seat and not a bigger one. But I don't know if he was on a bigger one or not. That's just what he was saying. But from an EMT, because he said he's dealt with many theme park injuries and sees kind of like certain rides have certain patterns, and that was kind of his guess to it. But we actually just, I mean, we just still don't know the details. We're just getting a lot of this from the lawyer, which obviously they have a certain way they're going to go about it. Right. And we don't have any of the details of like the investigators and stuff either. But yeah, very unfortunate. I mean, it's obviously just a very sad thing that this even happened. But I do, if it goes the way that, I do wonder, even if Universal is found free and clear of all this, I could see ride manufacturers really starting to look at maybe like the spacing of the rows. Even I feel like you can, the lap, and somebody said in the comments, I think it was Will Johnson, the lap bars are nothing new on roller coasters.
Yeah,
they've been around for 100 years.
Yeah, so it seems like this may just been a freak accident, and maybe there's more restrictions on wheelchair bound people not being able to ride this or certain types of roller coasters because this is wheelchair accessible. Maybe
no, I'm gonna play devil's advocate just a little bit with that.
Yeah.
Now, yes, lap bars have been around for since the beginning of time with roller coasters, but for these particular coasters, I'm starting to see a pattern. Not even just with Universal, but just manufacturers and amusement parks and theme parks. It seems like the coasters that really should be having the pull down harness, it seems like they're kind of moving away from that to bring more of a intense G-force feel where you just have a bar.
Like weightlessness feeling they get on the top of those
like, because when I look at Stardust and even when I look at Velocicoaster, back in the day, like in the 90s, early 2000s, if they were to make a coaster like that, in my opinion, I would have thought that they would have done the pull down restraints then rather than just the bar over the waist.
Yeah, I mean, it's a trend you're seeing with modern coasters of doing that for that reason. It's like that weightlessness feeling, a little bit more thrill because like you feel like you're coming out of your seat and it catches you. I do there that would be curious about this ride if that's the change they made here, or maybe they've changed the ride vehicles itself. Like I don't think Stardust Racers will shut down. Some people have speculated that. I mean, you're talking this ride probably cost I don't know how many millions. I mean, these things are not cheap to build, so I don't imagine they're going to scrap the whole ride. It would probably just be, and most of these incidents that do happen, there are some that shut down, certain smaller theme parks sometimes, but I don't think that would happen here. I think you would likely just see some changes to maybe it's the restraints, maybe it's the ride vehicles, maybe they slow it down. Like you could see stuff like that happening here on top of increased warnings for people, and maybe they make changes on who is able to ride it. But I think that'll be interesting because this will be an industry-wide thing because you got to think Disney's looking at this too. Now, Disney doesn't have the thrilling roller coasters that Universal does, but I'm sure they're looking at this and updating their protocols too. I would assume.
That's not to say they haven't had their own issues, though. I mean, a guest died on Thunder Mountain. You wouldn't think a guest would die on Thunder Mountain. I mean, unfortunately, the cart derailed from the track, and that's why they're putting in track in the Thunder Mountain Railroad over here at the Magic Kingdom is because that track is infinite years old.
Yeah.
But with regard to Velocicoaster and Hollywood, what is it called? Hollywood Fast and the Furious ride. I think that unless somebody brings a suit due to an injury for those coasters, I don't personally believe that they're going to make any changes because why would they make that? Even if you wanted to get it ahead of an issue, there's really no reason to unless somebody brings suit because what you're doing is you're admitting fault in design by trying to be proactive and change the safety harness or whatever. You definitely don't want to do that because then people can ask for more money. People can really target you then and say, hey, Intamin and Universal Studios are building deadly roller coasters. How do we know that? Because they're changing the safety restraints on their latest and greatest roller coaster. So that means that they know that these have inherent safety flaw. So a suit has to be brought. Yeah, a suit has to be brought in order for them to change the safety restraints. Otherwise, it would be admission of guilt.
That's a great point, Slimer. You're right. If they start changing things up, it's like, oh, well, so it wasn't safe before?
It is kind of an admission of guilt. Like, yeah. Like if
but
your buddy
you also think like if it continues, knock on wood, that if there's a pattern that God forbid, I'm not saying I want it to happen, but if something were to go down when they open Fast and Furious up at Hollywood, then it's actually going to give them probable cause to say, oh my gosh, okay, now this is 2 roller coasters under Universal's wing on both coasts that have these kind of ride vehicles and how they're restrained. Do they then change it after that?
I think it depends on the conditions, right? So like if these incidents happen, if and only if a certain combinations of conditions, I think they will make the changes, right? I mean, because if it happens like it's 2 guests with medical concerns that would have precluded them from riding. Then those conditions are so rare, it wouldn't justify them changing the safety harnesses of the rides.
Yeah, more so like if it was something were to go down, God forbid, like if it had to involve the actual vehicles.
Yeah, like let's say somebody in perfectly good health, like you or me, ride it, and then there's an issue. Yeah, I think they're going to look at that and go, okay, this isn't something that's a matter of this is a non-conditional problem now where safety restraints are causing injury or fatal injuries with guests because both of us have completely different conditions compared to the gentleman that unfortunately died in Orlando.
Well, God forbid if that ever happened. Sure enough, fellas, when you see the title of the park, it would say Italiversal. Just
now, one horse has a great point. I remember this incident. Big Thunder in California derailed because Disneyland's maintenance was poor in the late 90s and early 2000s. A piece of track in Space Mountain failed one morning during testing, and Disney rebuilt it in 2005. Now, he's right about this. Or she, I don't know. I'm sorry, one horse. I'm not sure if you're he or she, but they're right about this because we had a really rough time during that time period. I believe Paul Presser was the president back then still. and the maintenance at Disneyland was really, really bad, and they did not keep that coaster up to standard, and the connector between the cars came off, and the
Oh,
whole thing derailed, and it killed a guy. And I mean, that was terrible. And then there was also, I don't know if you remember One Horse, but there was also an accident on the Columbia. The guy was standing there, and the cleat or whatever they call him from the ship fell and hit the guy in the head. So that was a really, really dark time for Disneyland. They were not maintaining stuff back then.
But
So
One
it was
Horse also
sad.
continues on. Like, neither incident made people stop riding those, but that was before TikTok, YouTube, etc.
Mhm.
And that does play a big
It does.
Social
part of it.
media.
You know, when Big Brother is watching and you have all eyes, but not even just all eyes, all cameras on any angle of anything, it's just, you know, it gets out there. You know, it's almost like you don't even really need a news station anymore. Like, us as the fans, as the consumers, we're basically reporting on all this stuff.
Yeah, and Lucas and Disney said there was I remember this one. A person flew out and died in Superman ride in New England Six Flags due to the oversize and restraint got loose.
Jesus.
I mean, a lot of times the things that happen are the thing that happened in Icon Park. They had adjusted the young man that died. Unfortunately, I believe he was bigger. He was a big kid, and they had changed. There was something in the restraint system that was not being maintained like it was. And the young girl that passed away, which that was horrible. She was sitting on top of the seatbelt. She wasn't buckled in, so they didn't properly check before the ride went away. So usually you're talking about somebody made a lapse, they didn't check something, or the maintenance wasn't done. This one here would be like one of the first ones I can remember where if it turns out that nothing happened on this ride, it's just the ride itself, which I think would be, again, you're talking code. If it was built to code, I don't know really where the fault lies here. If Universal builds something, the state says, yeah, you're good to go, and then something happens. It's like same thing with a car. Like if you build a car to a certain standard and then something happens with it, like I'm sure that probably still falls on the manufacturer, but then, you know, somewhere the code would have to change. Or maybe they just, I wonder too, if they just increase the length. I mean, you could keep the lap bars if you just have that space between where people potentially could, if this is what happened, where he fell over and hit it. I would assume just making a larger space there would prevent that potential scenario from happening.
Yeah.
But
no, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm going to try and catch up on some of these comments here. Thank you guys for being here. There's a lot of comments. I'll see if I can catch up on most of these. Will Johnson said, it's not a new concept and is common in the entire industry. I think we already talked about that one. Yeah. I mean, lap bars are nothing new. Let's see. He also said, I don't recall hearing that other than two people with dizziness and one other thing. That's what have been officially reported. So I think you're getting a lot of people again, like that are coming out that's saying like, I experienced so-and-so as well. Again, you're talking about social media. I mean, back when that happened at Big Thunder Mountain, you didn't hear about this stuff unless the media talked about it. You didn't have social media or YouTube and things like that for people to really talk about this stuff very much. Ronnie Spencer says, my question is, whoever put him on the ride should know with a spinal injury you cannot do that. I think the park is responsible for the man's death knowing he has an injury in K. Well, they don't. I mean, the thing is, they can't ask. I mean, it is wheelchair accessible. I know from team members that told me they can't ask about your disability. This is why they put the warnings up there. This is why they're not supposed to help you onto it. Like if you heed the warning, I mean, you know, they literally cannot stop you and say, hey, what is your disability?
It's a HIPAA violation.
Yeah.
Privacy.
So then it's like, and that's the thing. It puts, if you're Universal in this situation, it's like, well, if you put the warnings out there, if a team member didn't help him on here, you know, I would be very curious how a trial would go with this.
And if they try to sue for discrimination, they will lose because legal precedent shows that you're not discriminating. You know,
but I think that's like visible. Like if you're in a wheelchair and it says, yeah, you can't ride because you're in a wheelchair, or if you have like they have had ones where people have prosthetic limbs, that's an obvious thing you can see. Yeah. I know they're just not allowed. Like if they go to ride, they can't say, oh, what is your disability? Right. They can't ask that. So then that puts it in a tricky spot because some people have said Universal shouldn't let him ride, but if it's wheelchair accessible, what are you supposed to do there really if you're a team member?
Right.
Lucas says, keep in mind that these complaint and lawsuits will start stacking up if this lady started this. Yeah, they probably will.
And we mentioned that on top of the show where you know, people are going to come out of the woodwork and they're going to start, you know, suing and stuff. And that's the predicament that Universal's in, you know what I'm saying? Because even if, like I said earlier, even if Universal is found to be innocent of any wrongdoing, it's still a PR black eye for them, because these lawyers are going to come out and do all these pressers and talk about how unsafe this attraction is. And it's going to be day after day after day of that. And, you know,
that's why I could see a settlement happening kind of quickly, because I just don't think they want to take it into court
Mhm,
and then have
I
all. I
agree.
mean, it wouldn't be televised, but you would still have all this out here where they just go, okay, like, and you also don't want the optics of fighting a death, the man's family in court. Like, that's just not going to look good either.
I think right now they're in a spot where I think Universal is gonna settle out of court. You know, they want less publicity on the story as much as possible, more like less than what it already has become. I think now is more getting down to the fact of like what really took this guy's death. Was it something actually off of the ride? Was it something with his medical disability? I think that's where it comes to. But when it actually comes to the family saying, hey, this happened on your property, on your ride, we won something, we'll fight for it. I think honestly Universal's just gonna give them something, even if they weren't at fault with the ride. I think Universal's just gonna maybe not give them exactly what they want, but strike a deal with their attorney and just come with a compromisable decision.
I tend to agree. Will Johnson has a good point here too. He says, "What about a ride like Top Thrill 2 at Cedar Point? It has 420-foot top hat, goes over 100 miles an hour. Well, they have to change that as well. It has a lap bar restraints and it's far more intense."
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good point. There are more intense coasters.
I don't know if it's just me. I mean, I haven't been to Cedar Point in years, but was Top Thrill Dragster removed? I thought that was taken out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought Top Thrill 2 was removed
Let me look it up real quick.
about 2 months ago or a month ago.
It says, yes, Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point was permanently retired in 2022 after being closed since August 21 due to an accident where a metal piece fell off the ride and struck a woman.
That's right. It was supposed to open and then it just remained in indefinite suspension until they announced it.
I remember when that ride first opened, because I've been on that ride, but there was a lot of issues with that ride. And that goes back with me saying that if you constantly see issue after issue after issue, it may not necessarily be a full-on death, but when you have a portfolio of things that are being reported, sure enough, I think in time it could catch up. And I think this is where Universal really needs to nip it in the butt, because then they would have to make an urgent decision. Do we keep the ride? Do we reform it? What do we do with it?
Yeah, because you're right though, George. I mentioned that too, where it's like there comes a point where it's like settlement after settlement after settlement, lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, and Universal is going to be looking at that going, how much is this ride worth? Or is it cheaper to get rid of it and put something else in here? You know what I'm saying? And they might be forced to have that conversation internally if this keeps going, you know? So hopefully not. Hopefully everything's okay. But
I guess the plus side is it hasn't been open that long if you're Universal. So the amount of people that could come forward is limited a bit. You've got 4 months now, and then you have the woman that is suing now. This happened during previews. So you don't have a lot of time, but you still have, I agree, you do have the potential for that being out there. Real Venture says, do you remember the incident with E.T.? I don't. Do you guys recall that?
Vaguely. Tell us what it was. What was that?
I don't know. Yeah, let us know in the chat. E.T. I don't recall that. I can't find anything.
If it happened, it must have happened in the 90s or early 2000s.
Yeah, probably. I haven't heard anything about that. And the thing is, too, like, you know, people have asked too about Universal. Like, I think Universal will be fine regardless of this. Like, things that happen in theme parks and they move on from it. It's still a terrible thing, but I don't think it's going to be like a huge like black eye for the company for like years and years. I think it should be a thing that's there. Lucas says, did you guys talk about the second lawsuit? We did. Yeah, we mentioned. I mean, there's really not a lot to talk about because she filed it. She's saying she was hurt on it.
So Real Venture said the kid's foot got stuck while they were unloading. Ooh. So did the kid's foot get stuck and then the ride started
probably
moving?
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that Real Ventures. I was actually at Universal about a week ago, going down the infamous Universal Hollywood escalators, and I was right in front of a family, and the kid. Now this was the kid's fault, 100% the kid's fault. He didn't have his shoes tied, and his laces got stuck in the escalator,
Oof.
and we were all backing up, and it was kind of scary actually. But he actually ended up getting out. He was fine. Kid was okay, but you know. That was definitely a situation that could have been really, really bad, but it wasn't, thankfully.
Well, and one of the top things that I'd say to anyone that gets their shoelaces stuck in an escalator, first thing, like slip your shoe off.
Yeah, ditch the shoe quickly.
Yeah, and that's what he did. I think his dad did it, or his dad helped him, and they got it out. And
I'm
it was
always
fine.
even at Universal Orlando. There's those pathways like airports where it has the conveyor belt, and then even with our kids, I'm always very like, okay, get over it. Like I'm always like, the chances are low, but this also why as a Florida man, you wear Crocs because you don't have to worry about it. Your Crocs get stuck, you just ditch the Crocs. It's no big deal. Your shoelaces aren't going to get stuck, and it's an easy way to go.
Hey, Jared, I'm a California guy, and I wear Crocs. You know, those are some good.
You're an honorary Florida man. That's what you're. Listen. I was anti Crocs on our podcast for years. I mocked people who wore Crocs. I moved to Florida. I was here for like a year, and I finally got a pair because I was so tired of having wet socks. And then I was walking around the theme park, and my wife was just like, "Are you really going to wear them?" I'm like, "I got a pair. I'm going to try them." And within like half a day, I was like, I was wrong. I judged everybody way too harshly. I was like, I'm sorry, and I will admit when I'm wrong. I love Crocs. I actually wear cane. They're called canes, so they look like they're more athletic shoes. So it looks like a tennis shoe, but it's the same thing as like a Croc.
Well, Jared, I tell you, I was the same way. I was looking at these Crocs, going, those things are so ugly, and they look uncomfortable because they're just like this piece of plastic, right? Like you wouldn't think that they would actually. I'm telling you, they are so nice on your feet. They support you, everything. I love Crocs, man. Easy. You slip on, slip off.
I wear them when I work out. Other than leg day, I will wear Crocs. There's like walking on clouds. Like
That's how I feel about Hoka's. My wife introduced me to Hoka's. Well, actually, it was my friend Caitlin. She was like, "You guys got to get Hoka." I was like, "Yeah, whatever." I put it off for years and years and years, and then my wife gets some Hoka. She's like, "Yo, these are the real deal." I'm like, "Whatever." And finally, she convinced me. She's like, "Hey, let's go try some Hokas. You need some new shoes," because she doesn't tell me when I need new clothes. I'm completely oblivious to when I need. All right, I don't have any fashion sense. She's restricted me to like black and white T-shirts, and that's it.
But that always works. That just
you can never go wrong with a black or white T-shirt.
Yeah.
It's vanilla everywhere. But dude, Hokas are the real deal. I can't believe how much more cushioning they have, and for having I have really flat feet. So they help me with that. And then the Hoka slides, which are their sandal, I think they're called slides. They're just as good. I mean,
so Hokas are good for flat feet, you said?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. My wife has really flat feet. I may have to have her try them because she's always trying to find shoes that like she'll end up getting shin splints and all sorts of stuff, like walking around a lot.
They run a little narrow, so you're going to want to go with one of their wide sizes. For example, my feet I have platypus feet. They're webbed. There's hair going. I look like a hobbit. Okay.
Stop it.
Nice link between everybody.
Yeah, I can climb up Mordor easy. But yeah, I can't wear Nikes.
Wow. Now here's the thing: if anyone from Crocs or what were the one?
Hoka
footwear.
Hoka.
Oh, you're talking about Hookah. I was talking about Kane. He said Hookah.
Hoka and Crocs. If anyone from either one of those companies is watching, feel free to sponsor us because.
Yeah, I will. My goal is to have a Kane sponsorship. I have like 3 pairs of their shoes. I turn people onto them all the time. When you guys come down here, you will become fans of Canes. They are insanely comfortable. But Crocs I still use. They're still in my rotation because they're easier to slide on and off. But yeah, I was wrong about Crocs, undoubtedly.
I wish I could find those Lightning McQueen Crocs, man. I would rock the hell out of those.
There's some cool, like somebody I saw has like Batman, like it looks like a Batmobile Croc. And I was like, that is cool.
That's sick. That is sick.
Brandon Frederick says, I used to work at ET. Great memories there, and used to come home smelling every day from the fog scent. Those are the days. Oh, that's like that's like a built-in air freshener there.
Hey, shout out to Brandon. What's up, Brandon?
That's awesome. Real Venture says, I'm talking about the boy in ET. I think he had his foot out where he wasn't supposed to, obviously, and it got stuck and it was going towards the unloading station. Ooh. I always have worried about, you never know with kids. And we got a lot of Croc love in here. Real Venture says, I love Crocs. Lucas says Crocs. Please make more Gundam Crocs. They do have all sorts of Crocs now. Will Johnson says Crocs. Yeah.
They just made some Ghostbuster Crocs. They're hideous, but
Did you get them?
No, I wouldn't wear them.
What? I thought you were a Ghostbusters fan.
Yeah, but I don't mix Ghostbusters with, tacky apparel.
You've got your limits. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I got my limits. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, to wrap this up, I guess we'll see what happens with all this in terms of Stardust Racers, but it's just incredibly sad, and I'm curious how long. I think the ride may be down for an extended period of time, if I were to guess. That'll be the next little interesting part about that when it opens. But I have been talking about it. I can't say I've enjoyed making videos on the topic, but when there is more stuff to talk about, we'll talk about it on here. And
it's not a fun topic, but it is very important in our space. That's what we do. We talk theme parks, and it's unfortunate that this has happened, but it's something that we got to report on,
Well, the reason I even did the first video was I was just seeing a whole bunch of stuff. Like there were people saying that he rode 5 or 6 times. And so I was just really trying to make him just be like, this is all the facts that are actually known, and trying to keep I gave my opinion on what may have happened, making it very clear as a speculation, but just not wanting to make hyperbolic videos necessarily on it. And so then that's kind of the path that went. And so I would assume we'll probably have more details. I don't know how long that investigation will run. I don't think it will take that long, because it's not like it's not like a manhunt. Like you've got a very locate, a small scene there to check it out if they have cameras. I wouldn't imagine the investigation will take that long to determine what happened, and then what are the next steps after that will be the real question.
I would guess, and again, I'm not a lawyer or law enforcement, but I would guess based on how heavily filmed these parks are, both Disney and Universal, and they have team members there that witness things, and they have guests there that witness things. I would think they're pretty close to the end of. I couldn't imagine. I agree with you that it would take much longer. I mean, there's not a whole lot to really review, right? I mean,
yeah, I guess the question is, do they have cameras? I don't know the answer. Do they have cameras all along the ride? We know they do in the loading station. I just don't know if they do throughout the whole track.
I would think knowing Universal, I would be surprised if they didn't. I mean, because they're pretty tight-nipped on that stuff. Like if you're not supposed to be having your phone out or something, I mean, they call you out. They'll go on an intercom, and they'll just, especially out here with Flight of Hippogriff, a lot of people, they know not to bring out their phones. But a lot of newbies, they'll wait till they're going up the lift hill, and they'll pull out their phone and to record it. And they will literally stop the ride while hanging on the lift hill. And they'll say, and they don't say it nicely. They say, put the phone away.
Right. Yeah. I think I would assume they would as well. I just never have seen it in any of the construction photos that I recall, but I wasn't looking for it either. So
I think it's all absurd. They have cameras so that way they don't end up in a lawsuit where it's hearsay or your word versus theirs. And I'm pretty sure they do it for insurance reasons as well. I wouldn't be surprised if the insurers require them to have cameras all throughout the ride systems, not just for the discount, but just to get insured, because these losses are just so massive.
That's a good point. That is a good point. Will Johnson says he thinks it'll be closed till the end of the year.
Wow.
Let's see. I don't know. I don't know what the president is really, but let's see. Remy D says, very interesting that grifter channels haven't made a video about it yet.
Remy, it's interesting you brought that up, because I kind of noticed that too. Because I watch all kinds of content. I like to get a lot of different perspectives. I think that's very, very important. But yeah, it's been kind of quiet on that front.
Because it's Universal.
Well, that's a good point. If it may have been something else, yeah.
I guarantee you, if it was Disney, there'd be 50 videos out on it already.
Probably. Well, and I didn't know how, honestly, I didn't really know how it would get received. And I actually had some emails from some team members that said thank you for covering it, just being factual. So I was just worried oh no, they're gonna be mad because I'm talking about it. But it's just one of those things where it just I always say I may not always be right, but I'm never gonna lie to you. And I was just trying to present things as they are and give my opinion where it's necessary. And the main thing it comes down to is I can't even imagine going to a theme park and leaving with one less person that you came with.
Yeah.
And that's just at a theme park. I mean, terrible things happen in life in the world, but it's just at a theme park, people think nothing bad can happen, which it can, obviously, looking at all these incidents. And it's incredibly sad. No, either whoever's at fault, it was just a very sad incident. But But let's move on to talk about something not as downer. Is if I can get my screen to work here, is Lost Continent. Now, I've talked to George about this on his channel. Oh, hold on, we got Theme Park Conductor. He says, my question is, if the man and his girlfriend allowed and gave permission to the team member to help him into the ride vehicle seat, does that relieve him of responsibility and Universal as well? I would assume that still, you would have to, I guess, prove it that they verbally said so. But I don't even know if that would hold up, if that still, they would just look at that and say that the team member helped. But I don't know. That I'm not actually sure.
I think it depends on, because again, we're only going by like, hey, they're a team member, they should help. Hey, can you help get my friend or relative in the seat? And if they do it for the kindness of their own heart, but really if it's against the rules of what Universal tells their team members,
Yep.
and he does it, no matter how much of a good place that he was in to want to help, he would then be responsible.
Yep. The permission has nothing to do with it. This is against not just the rules, but I think this is this is a violation of code of ethics. If there's no permission. Like, even if they gave you permission, the right answer would be, I'm sorry, you need to help him on, or he needs to get on by himself. That's the rules.
It's like, I gave you permission to like sell me drugs. It's still against the rules. You can't.
Right. Exactly.
Well, and here's I mean, these team members are not medically trained. They don't know how to correctly move a paraplegic. They're not nurses. You know what I'm saying? So that's the danger in it. It doesn't matter.
That's true. You can help somebody and they fall, and then it's the same thing where there are people that will do CPR. There have been cases of this where they're trying to save someone's life and they get sued because they injured the person while giving them CPR.
Exactly.
Right.
It's like, unfortunately, things like that happen. Brian here, who is a team member, says no on that. So I agree with that. But we'll see how that all shakes out, undoubtedly. But let's talk about Lost Continent. Now, George and I talked about this on his channel. I haven't got your guys' opinion on this. We have speculated about the Lost Continent before, and there were some permits that came out that people found, and it was like 5.4 acres, and basically people kind of put the math together, and that was about the size of Lost Continent outside of Mythos, and we're saying, oh, there's permits here. Something's happened to Lost Continent. Then Universal came out and said, yes, there is construction plans. But technically, Universal says this is under Project 555, but they're saying it is, quote, part of site planning to ensure the area is ready for any future developments. I don't buy that they're going to bulldoze a land just in case they want to do something in the future. So I do think that this is looking towards something coming to Lost Continent. Lots of rumors out there. What do you guys think of? Do you believe Universal, and what do you think potentially may be coming, or what would you maybe like to see come?
There's currently a few rumors out there. One Piece is one of them. I've heard Pokemon and also Zelda, right? Now, George,
running one is Zelda, yeah.
Is Zelda, right? And I think Zelda is a fantastic franchise, which would be amazing in a theme park environment. But George, you brought up a great point on my channel when we were talking about this with Eli, where 5 acres though for Zelda, I don't know if that's enough. I think Zelda needs to be. You can't approach Zelda the same way you approach Mario Brothers.
And honestly, I don't even think you can with Pokemon.
Well,
here's what's interesting though, is they moved a lot of backstage areas to Epic Universe, and it's my understanding they may. I don't know this for sure. They could potentially tap into backstage areas behind Lost Continent that could give them more space.
Yeah, I think you need that space for Zelda. I think you can't go cartoony like they did with Donkey Kong and Mario. You got to go like kind of like the Lost Continent kind of energy, right? Like
really quick, Brandon, I'm right there with you. I actually miss Poseidon's Fury. Oh, yeah, I absolutely loved it. They did a whole freaking revamp of it, like freshen it up, and then 2 months later, kaput, it gets shut down.
That ride was so advanced for its time. I remember going through it in opening year and just being like, what is this? This is amazing.
That thing you walk through with the water. I remember as a kid when I did it, and I was like, how did they do this? I was terrified it was going to fall in on me like it was a wave.
Well, now here's the interesting thing too with One Piece. Universal's leaning hard into the anime stuff, right? We've seen it with Universal Fan Fest. One Piece was extremely popular for that event. I think One Piece would be a really cool franchise in a theme park environment, especially for Universal, because it would give them the opportunity to sort of take a stab at the pirate theme. And I'm very curious what kind of pirate attraction Universal builds, because it will be their answer to Pirates of the Caribbean. I think it'd be
Or
kind of
if
fun,
they
you know?
wanted to fix their Toon Lagoon problem,
That's where
you
I
can
have said. I
you
think One
can
Piece
literally
needs-
revamp One Piece
Yeah.
with Toon Lagoon because you have the same kind of color palette. It's very bright. It's very vibrant. It involves the water theme. Now, of course, they could do a lot more and get creative than just reskin Ripsaw Falls and build wrap barges. But I mean, you have a decent amount of land there as well that you can do something with One Piece, or I could even say even with Pokemon, because even Pokemon has that same kind of bright, vibrant colors. And when you're dealing with water, you could deal with the water and grass type Pokemon. And yeah.
Well, and here's the thing too. Dan's Life brings up a great point. I thought they debunked Zelda at IOA. Well, they kind of did, because in Epic Universe they have all those Zelda references in the stained glass windows and stuff. I mean, you can't tell me that's by accident. I mean,
So-
that's interesting.
I agree. What I have heard, the recent thing I've heard is that Zelda is going to go into Epic Universe and Super Nintendo World. So I believe that is currently where that stands, and so I don't think Zelda would go into Lost Continent. I agree. Now, I think I brought that up on your channel, George, about if you put One Piece in Toon Lagoon, it's already water based. But the thing about that is, Toon Lagoon right now doesn't sell any merchandise. If you put One Piece in there, obviously you got a land people would be into. And you guys were talking about at Fan Fest how much the One Piece and anime merchandise just flew off the shelves. That would immediately turn into a cash cow for Universal just with the merchandise alone.
Yeah.
And
Anime is huge right now. Was it Demon Slayer is crushing it at the box office, and yeah, even though K-pop Demon Hunters technically I don't think that's anime, but you know, Asia right now in general, Japan, South Korea, they're crushing it, and it would be really smart for Universal to kind of get on that. Go ahead, Summer. I do apologize, brother.
No, you're good, brother. I was just going to say, we were looking at Google Trends the other day, and a couple of things we were looking at were Demon Slayer, K-pop, Demon Hunter. What were we looking at? Mandalorian, The Conjuring, Last Rites, and over a 90-day period, all the Japanese stuff, the manga, blows away everything when it comes to search results on Google, which is the largest sample size you can pull right now if you're looking for statistical data of interest by a general audience. Like, it's not even close. I think Mandalorian Grogu was like a blip for the preview, but even with the Mandalorian Grogu trailer coming out, K-pop Demon Hunter still was markedly more of an interest on Google search results via Google Trends than even Star Wars at this point. So I agree. You know, Seymour actually sent us a really good article that was sent about the president of Universal Studios Japan and the decisions that he made to bring Japanese culture into their park, making it now like the fourth biggest park in terms of attendance globally. I think they average like 14 or 15 million guests per year, dwarfing even the Walt Disney World parks minus Magic Kingdom. So I personally think they're going to copy that model. I think that it would be business malpractice not to at this point, considering how big these brands are. We know this. And so, yeah, I think that, you know, Pokemon, Zelda, I agree with you guys. I think it's a very popular IP. However, I don't think that it has the popularity to stand on its own. It's a smaller IP. Despite what the Zelda fans tell you, I'm sorry, it just doesn't have the merchandisability of Super Mario and Donkey Kong. And we know this because of we just know this because of how much Zelda merchandise you see versus Super Mario merchandise. Like, Nintendo knows this, right?
And I do know that was a worry that Universal had about Zelda was it a big enough thing to appeal to a broad audience? So it makes sense to kind of tuck it into Super Nintendo World where it becomes part, and it also gives Epic Universe more attractions that as well. But we do have a super chat here from Lucas and Disney. Thank you, sir. He says, Giant Peter Show said 2026 FanFest is coming, and my money is more anime IPs like Naruto and Gundam due to their popularities, but also Ready Player One had big demand for Gundam. Game IP ? Final Fantasy and Resident Evil. I mean, I think video games and anime, you're going to see this in Hollywood undoubtedly, because superheroes are about to be kicked to the curb, as you're already starting to see the video game stuff take over. But I think that I do think Universal is in a very good position to take advantage of this. Versus, I think Disney will do something to, I think, try and do something with this popularity. I just don't know how they can or what they'll do given how they're kind of set up. Whereas I think Universal is their kind of culture, the way they run stuff. I do think they are set up more to take advantage of video games and anime like into the theme parks.
Ready Player One is... Go ahead, brother.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's interesting that today we got a great trailer for Star Wars Visions, which is a bunch of anime studios doing these little Star Wars like shorts, and the trailer is an absolute banger. Disney, I mean, if they were smart, Disney can kind of lean into that because it's still their IP, but they can also do that anime angle. I would really dig that. Some of the best stuff for Lucasfilm has come out of those anime studios. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that's what if you remember the Matrix did those anime short things back when those came out. Those were really, and that was like early on. And I think that idea is pretty cool. Slimer, you were saying something before.
I lost track. I can't remember what I was saying. Oh, I remember now. It had to do with Ready Player One. Ready Player One is a very interesting IP that could be a gateway into bringing a lot of anime properties and just properties in general into a Universal theme park. Because one, it was directed by Steven Spielberg, which of course, is one of the creative minds. Of course, Monsters Unchained, as we know now, was it's his brainchild to bring it in to compete with the Haunted Mansion.
That's crazy if you think about it, though.
Right? But it is Steven Spielberg, so par for the course. But despite the fact that Universal Studios doesn't own Ready Player One, I think it was actually produced by, I can't remember which studio. You can look it up, but
I'll look it up.
I think it might have been Paramount, but it's not Universal. But that's a great way to go because you don't have to limit yourself to any one IP, and you can just have a plethora of IPs you can introduce through one, obviously it's based off of a book, right? So it fits into that overall theme of having lands based on novels. So that's really interesting. I think that's one direction that I don't think that people would predict, but they could go that way. I don't think they will, but that's a very
Ready Player One was Warner Brothers, so they do have a relationship with them.
There you go.
And two, Lucas had mentioned with FanFest, and that is quite interesting because a lot of the times, even though they're two separate parks on two separate coasts, it's all under one umbrella of Universal, where when they brought One Piece over here for FanFest, where it was basically, meet and greets, people were cosplaying, they stood in line for 3 hours, to meet the characters. They knew the lore, they knew the dialogue, they knew everything. So now it seems like ever since then, now like One Piece has become more interconnected with the Universal parks. So my thing is, if that really is the case, I'm very curious to see what Universal has in store for the next FanFest, because again, I feel like they're utilizing FanFest as the beta testers to see what can potentially move into the parks permanently. So that could be the reason why they're not really releasing what they want with Lost Continent yet, because they still might have several IPs that they may want to look at before making that final decision. And I'm curious to see, because I'll be going to LA Comic-Con this coming weekend, and a good friend, Mr. Theme Park Wizard, will be there also. And he was saying that on Saturday, there's going to be a Universal panel where they may be discussing FanFests and future HHN and all that stuff. So I'm very curious to see what is to come of that, because that could be very telling of what could possibly be going in these areas. Because again, just by one year at FanFest with One Piece, and look, now 1 year later, we're having a conversation that it could be going permanently into a park in Orlando.
Yeah. Real Ventures has a good point. So I love that Universal is secret with their projects versus Disney saying what could possibly come, but can cancel last minute or be nothing like the concept art.
Right. And Real Ventures, this is the dilemma that Disney is in, right? Because Universal doesn't have a D23. D23 kind of forces Disney into announcing stuff. And the problem with that, it gets people hyped and excited. But the problem with that is that it's usually announced like 4 and 5 years in advance. And then you have that creative process that plays out, and then things get, canceled and changed along the way, which is common in that creative process. But it leads to a lot of fans getting mentally married to the concept art and things like that, and then getting mad at Disney when they don't deliver the exact same thing, where Universal doesn't do that. What Universal does is they build the ride, and 6 months into the thing being constructed, they announce the thing. So it's different strategies, but Disney can't really do much about it to change because they have D23 and they're forced into making those announcements.
They can't change unless they want to have a big revolt on. I think
yes, and Real Ventures even says it. I'm actually happy Universal doesn't have a D23 for that reason.
I am too.
And even Bruce Vaughn has recognized this as a problem, and he's come out and stated he wants to take a different direction of how they're going to announce these things. Because the biggest mistake is, like what OG said, is they have something to hang their hat on, and you don't want anything for these people to hang their hats on, because they create these false expectations in their head, despite the fact that Disney is not saying this is what you should expect. This is a artistic rendering with no budget associated. This is like an idea that somebody put on paper and says, hey, we're going to build a ride. Then all these people create all these expectations, hang their head on them. And then when it's different, there's this massive disappointment that people can't seem to get over the fact. And I think that Bruce Vaughn's going in the right direction. Let's put it.
I agree. Well, look at the Piston Peak artwork was very cartoony, brochure-y, and then you had even when they showed the preview of the castle, it was like watercolorish, like no details. I kind of think that's the direction because he did say something about that. So I think that may be the direction they go.
Yeah, no, 100%. And this isn't like a new Disney thing, like in terms of like disappointing the fans. Look, we had the Disney Decade under Michael Eisner, which a lot of that stuff didn't get built. We were going to get a Baby Herman roller coaster, never happened. A Dick Tracy ride, never happened.
Yeah, I remember that.
Westcott, never happened. Yeah, so this has been an ongoing problem for Disney. Even arguably even before D23. So I think it's good that Bruce Vaughn is addressing it because it leads to a lot of fan backlash, and Disney's under a microscope. They really are. It's still the top dog and still very, culturally relevant. And a lot of people are passionate about Disney, right? And so when you get out there and you have a lot of bad press because fans are like ticked off because stuff isn't getting built or not the way that they were promised, it's not a good look for Disney. I mean, look at all the stuff that happened with that Epcot remodel.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
That was the most egregious one. Was what they showed and versus the final product of, and there's people talk about the reasons for it, but undoubtedly it's like what was presented, what the final product is like, it's kind of a joke. Like if you look at Communal Core Hall of what like it was going to look like a spaceship had landed at Epcot ultimately, and then the final product. So yeah, I agree. I think they'd be really good to get away from it, but I don't know if they can. I agree with you. I don't know if they can without just making the diehard super mad, but it probably would be better creatively because you're seeing it right now with Rip Ride Rocket. We have no clue what's replacing it. Although as they're tearing that ride down, they are also building the new one. Like they are building that thing as if like somebody owes them money because they're just like they're not even saving. They're just like cut it off, get rid of it, already setting foundation. So we'll probably hear in 6 months to 8 months what's replacing it about a year before it opens. And then you can actually maintain that momentum where people keep that excitement up. Whereas Disney, you announce these things are 5 years away. You just can't maintain that excitement level for that period of time. And then it comes under scrutiny. And you know how people operate. Like they love it. And then to give them enough time to look at it. And then it's like with a celebrity, they'll love a person. And the next person, like, I hate that person. And it's just like, if you get enough time to look at something or somebody, they're just going to be like, I don't like them now. And I think that kind of goes into like almost human nature.
Well, and Theme Park Wizard said, I love all of you. Wizard, we love you too, brother. We love you too.
What's up,
we love you.
Yeah,
go ahead, Simon.
Down the chat yet.
I'm going to say something controversial here. I'm going to say something controversial here, and that's Disney has terrible PR.
Oh my gosh, they have terrible PR.
Nobody in this podcast agrees with that. I'm sure you guys all agree that Disney has wonderful PR.
No, absolutely. I mean, Disney has the best PR. I mean, like when like situations arise.
I had to bleep you out, bro. We're gonna lose our special access. Come on now, you know better, George. No, go ahead, brother. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
No. I was being sarcastic anyway. I was like, to answer Slimer's question, that like they have the best PR. I mean, like when push comes to shove and situations occur, they know the perfect timing of like what to say. It's like amazing.
Like when to release a trailer. during a they're listen, their PR has always been they got savants in there that really know how to release all this.
But what I was going to say was I think
Dip into that.
I think it's imperative that Bruce Vaughn solves this issue and permanently, because this problem of making these announcements with these high expectations has been around for decades. Remember Disney's America, the Western themed theme park they were going to build, 40 freaking years ago? Like, this is a problem. This is a long standing problem. And the behavior needs to change. Like, if you want to change the behavior of the guests, of criticizing you for making these announcements that don't end up coming to fruition, you have to change the behavior of the company permanently.
Yeah. Well, that'd be interesting about whoever's the CEO next. I think the timing is going to be interesting in terms of, do they make any sweeping changes, or if it's just kind of business as usual? Because I do think that's one of the things that the parks make them the most money. So that needs to be something that they address if they're, if they recognize that it is a problem. I guess that's the other thing, is that Bruce Vaughn has said that, but does the rest of the company view it the same way? I suppose is maybe the question there. But let me get caught up on some of the chat here. Brandon Fedrick said, I am behind here. I will get caught up here. I apologize. Says, I remember seeing the water tunnel, talking about Poseidon Sphere the first time, and I was so blown away. And also the expanding room at the end, just unreal. Yeah, that thing is so cool. I was sad to see it go. Remy D says, I wouldn't mind if they built a new land and kept the Lost Continent that only has Mythos. Dude, don't touch Mythos.
Don't touch Mythos.
I will make so many hate videos if they mess with Mythos.
Dude, I'll freaking duct tape myself right to the door. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, they want to bring on
live stream. We will just take turns and just we'll never stop. That we'll do like chain ourselves to the door. They'll never be able to tear it down. I won't stand for it. I will not have it. Danny77 says, one more thing we didn't talk about. Nintendo could also be concerned about this accident because they have Nintendo. I mean, I'm sure everybody's looking at this with, an open, a raised eyebrow to see how this goes.
I don't think they'd be touching Intamin anytime soon. I'd say that.
No, well, and the Stardust Racers was Mac Ride, so Intamin is good on this. So,
well, there you go. I stand corrected.
And I do. And Universal does love working with Intamin, because a lot of people were surprised that they went with Mac for Stardust Racers. So, Intamin seems to be the one that Universal really likes to work with. We got Wallen Ballin in here. He says, Gotta catch all them Lost Continent rumors.
That means Pokemon.
Gotta catch them all.
He hasn't been too subtle about that. I will say I've heard similar as well. But
is he trying to tell us something?
I don't think so. I think he's. Lucas says, One Piece is good for Lost Continent because restaurant, show, ride, and merch shop are going to fit perfectly. I mean, it would fit anywhere they put it in there. All that stuff would be, as long as they just don't change. You can change the theming to some degree of Mythos, just don't change that whole thing. Just leave it alone. Yep. Brandon said I said Ripsaw worked that too. Man, bringing up so many memories, and now I think it's on the chopping block. Although you say that, and like that ride, that whole land has been out of date since the park opened, and it just still keeps going.
I think honestly, if they were to retheme and change Toon Lagoon, I think they would take Dudley Do Rights out, but they would just keep the ride as is and then just like retheme it to something else. Because I mean, it does. I mean, especially on the hot summer days, that ride gets a lot of traction.
Yeah, 45 to 60-minute waits during the summers. I think it's just going to be a retheme. I agree with you, George.
And I was surprised. I did a video on that topic, and I got a lot of pushback. Because I mean, you guys know this, but like our comments always agree with us on our videos. Like nobody ever disagrees. But a lot of people gave pushback and said like don't touch, and I was kind of surprised, but I think if you at least left, that would be the best flume ride. It still is in Orlando right now, I think, and just retheme it to something. I think that would be a good move.
Well, this is why there was a comment in here about the about who's going to buy Warner Brothers. This is why I want Comcast Universal to buy Warner Brothers, because they would inherit that incredible Warner Brothers library, and Warner Brothers has a lot of great animation with the Looney Tunes, all the Turner stuff, like the Hanna-Barbera, Flintstones, all that would be Universal. They would have endless amount of IP that they can put into a new Toon Lagoon, and I think I don't know. I really hope they would buy Warner Brothers, but it's probably not going to happen. It seems like it's going to be Paramount, to be honest with you. We'll see.
Yeah. I
I have actually a little homework assignment for everyone in the chat. For all of you who have young children or maybe nieces, nephews, cousins, anyone below like the age of 10, like in between like 5 to 10, 4 to 10, what have you. I would love for you all to ask them, do they know the character of Dudley Do-Right? Without coaching them, without giving them hints, just a straight out question and just ask them, do they know who Dudley Do-Right is? I'm just very curious to see what their answers would be. So for anyone who has young kids in their families, whether it's your own children or again relatives, I'm very curious to see what they would say.
I don't think there's 30-year-olds that know who that character is. To be,
The reason my kids would is because we've been to Universal as much as we have, but I don't even think they would. If I went and asked my daughter, I'd have to wake them up and ask them, and they'd be mad at me. But I don't think they would know. I think they would be like, I have no clue. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like I think anything you keep those rides, you retheme to something, you'll sell merch, and it immediately becomes an appeal and becomes something that people would want to go to Islands Adventure for versus just kind of a walkthrough land, which it is kind of right now.
See, Wizard is saying he's 29. He doesn't know who it is. So,
yeah.
I mean,
I'd be curious where that cutoff is, like where people know it from versus like having no clue. Jan Smoke says, rumors are Netflix will buy Warner Brothers Studios. What do you guys think this means for Universal Parks?
I think it's a big loss for Universal. I think that would be a massive loss.
I think bidding more, to be honest. I actually think is it the Ellisons that are behind Paramount now?
Yep.
I think they're going to just push as much money as they need to get what they want at this point.
I agree with you. But man, it would be so cool if Universal got it, because what they could do with their theme parks would be absolutely amazing. And it would really be cool for even Universal Hollywood, because the Warner lot isn't too far from Universal, and Universal can offload a lot of their sound stages to the Warner lot and expand that theme park. It'd be so dope, dude. But yeah, it's gonna be the Ellisons. They're gonna write that big fat check, you know.
Astro Grim says, I think anime could also bring a lot of crowds that Universal would want from other countries. That is very true, as well as because it would be the biggest and highest quality anime park, especially with the reach of One Piece. Probably, if they did that, I think so.
You know what? I've noticed a lot more. That's an interesting point that they bring up. I noticed a lot more tourism from Asia, like at the Universal parks, since they opened Nintendo Land. A lot more.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Does make sense. I'm gonna go down to the bottom. If I didn't get your comment, I apologize. There's a lot of these coming in. I'm trying to keep up with them. Well, Wallen's stuck out because he's on Twitter X. He says, interestingly, I've been hearing conflicting things on the Rip Ride rocket replacement. Very conflicting things from very confident sources. Part of me thinks they may have pulled a last minute switch of some kind, but I'm not sure. See, and that's the thing too. Like, some people will tell you things, and if like it can change within like weeks. Like you'll hear something and be like, oh, it's almost confirmed. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, it went a different direction, which is why a lot of times, like, I will talk about rumors, but I'm always very like, hey, this is a rumor. This can change, because it very much seems like a lot of times it's a very fluid situation.
Well, and that's the benefit Universal has. See, they're already deconstructing the old thing, and I heard they even have footings. I think it was Theme Park Wizard who reported on them, and starting in the footings for the new attraction, and we have no solid idea as to what they're even building. You know what I'm saying? If this was Disney, they would announce this thing back in 2019, you know?
Yeah.
So
Wallen says Mythos will be touched. It will be changed, but Mythos, the restaurant, will still be with us. Have no fear.
There we go.
Yeah.
Remy D's asking, is George related to Tommy Italiano? I don't know who George is. Who's George? Not kidding.
George is related to, I think he also stars in a Spanish soap opera that I watch from time to time. I'm for sure. The hair is very coiffed. I like it, George. I think.
Thank you.
I think you
yeah,
could.
Yeah, I've been digging this hairstyle lately. I'm just like growing it out. I just want to just kind of just get a little bit of the, just wet the hair and just like let it.
Coming out of a pool, just
yeah. But of course, see, like only like Fabio or someone like that could make it look sexy. I do it, and it looks like just like wads of hair, just like slapping me in the face.
Wads of hair.
The filter gets clogged, and then it's like, oh man. Brandon says Mythos forever. You know what? That's a good shirt idea. Mythos forever.
Yeah, it is.
Protesting it. Let's see here.
But again, I'm okay with retheming mythos. Like if it's going to tie into,
as long as they keep the Lamburger and some of the food.
yes, yeah. I say honestly, you keep the inner aesthetics of the restaurant itself. Keep it that, even though it may not be like a Greek kind of mythological cavern kind of thing, but if they tie it into whatever IP that they use, yeah, keep the lamb burger, keep the char grilled octopus legs, keep the mushroom risotto. Leave the menu alone.
Yes.
All you're gonna do, Universal, is you're just gonna change the name. You're not gonna touch anything else.
Or else.
It'll just be the Zelda Cafe, but everything else will be the same.
Oh my god! If they turn it into like a quick service, oh my lord,
that would be a travesty. I agree. Brian says, I made my nephews watch those old cartoons. Why would you do that to your nephews? The nerdy millennial says, I'm 40 and I grew up with Dudley Do-Right. I make sure all the littles watch and know about the classics. It's funny. I didn't. The only thing I ever remember was Popeye was on my grandma's house sometimes. And like I remember the Flintstones and like obviously Looney Tunes, but I don't recall like Dudley Do-Right in those.
I think it depended on the era. Like I didn't like watching Dudley Do-Right. I didn't like watching Rocky and Bullwinkle. I didn't like the animation.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like the animation, I don't watch them. I like the Hanna-Barbera stuff, like Flintstones and the Jetsons. That was pretty good. But yeah, I was a Looney Tunes guy. Looney Tunes was my jam.
Yeah. Animaniacs was what I loved as a kid. Lucas says, oh, by the way, Doug Bowser just announced his retirement as the CEO of Nintendo of America and replaced with Devin Pritchard. Wow. Is that a good move? I didn't hear about Bowser retiring. Interesting. I'll have to look into that.
I love that his last name was Bowser and he was running Nintendo. That's awesome.
I know. That was what's so funny. Yeah. Dan's Life at the Kingdom says Back to the Future coaster. Well, there's some rumors out there that Back to the Future could replace Supercharged if Fast and Furious is the replacement for Rip Ride Rocket, but we will see.
Yeah, it needs to go 88 miles an hour though if they're going to do that.
I would agree there.
I think whatever they do, it needs to hit 88 miles an hour. Like they could put us on a freaking like a rover kind of vehicle that looks like the DeLorean. I don't care what they have to do, just 88 miles per hour.
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
I want to hear that. Yeah, exactly. Brian says, we getting the same thing, same roller coasters Universal Studios Hollywood's getting. Trust me, executives are ready for Fast and Furious Supercharged to go, LOL. I have heard the same thing, Brian. That's what I've heard as well. As Universal's very aware of where that ride stands, I will say. But Wallen reposted this stream. Oh, thank you, Wallen Ballin. Appreciate that. Let's see. I think we're almost caught up on the chat. Wallen says, we want that fork and knife grilled cheese.
Royale with cheese. What movie is that from? Royale.
I have a movie quote. I don't know.
Pulp Fiction,
man.
Oh, right. It's been a long time. I feel bad now. Yeah. Theme Park Wizard said, I've heard Universal Studios Hollywood might get the same Back to the Future replacement that Universal Studios Florida will get, but we will see. That would make complete sense. If you're going to do it in Orlando, you got it right there next to where it was filmed. That would make a lot of sense, and it was in both parks. So I think that would be something that
I'm just waiting for that Cafe 80s restaurant to open up, man, so I can relive my Back to the Future 2 moments.
Oh.
I just want that hoverboard, baby.
Dude, a hoverboard shop like the same way they do the droids, where you can customize your droids over at Galaxy's Edge. Dude, print money.
Dude,
for real.
Guys, you can have all that. Just give me Back to the Future Part 2, Leah Thompson. I'm good.
Valid point. I always had a crush on Leah Thompson. Believe
it or not, I actually did too. She was like one of the actresses that she was like way older than me, obviously. But like when I looked at her, it's like I didn't see her as like someone who was older than me. I just looked at her like, oh, she's attractive. She's cute.
Yeah, I agree. She's aged well too. She looks pretty good for her age. So
yeah, awesome actress.
Let's see. Lucas says, if Fast and Furious Supercharged doesn't have family meme, I am not riding it. I mean, I think the new coaster, if they're going to do Fast and Furious, it just needs to have Vin Diesel saying, welcome to the family, like over and over. You get a chain when you get on. I think they need to do go the whole 9 yards.
You get an Amber Alert that says, welcome to the family.
There's so many possibilities.
So,
Dan's life said, I guess, talking about the 80s, having Michael Jackson taking your order. I'm good with that.
That'd be cool. I would agree with that. I was gonna get Remy D's. Where did it go? Where did it go? You guys are super active, and I appreciate it. Thank you guys for being here and being very active. It is a lot of fun to interact with you guys. Remy D says, do you guys think that the recent coaster incident will give Universal and maybe even Disney pause on building more thrilling rides?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, it might give them pause in how they build them or how they design them. That's a possibility, depending on which way this goes.
Yeah,
But they're still going to build them.
people still want thrilling coasters.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh wait, Wallen says it's not a Pulp Fiction reference. It's the best menu item at Mythos. Wait, what did he say again?
It was the grilled cheese.
the grilled
Is
cheese.
the grilled cheese the best item there?
I never tried the grilled cheese.
I haven't either. I love grilled cheese. If they have a really good tomato soup with it, I mean, I'm on board.
I'll say this, Wallen, because I every time I go to Universal, I always have to make a stop at Mythos. I will purposely get the grilled cheese, and I will do a review on it on Hollow Gelato. So, thank you for inspiring for a food review, because now you got me curious.
Not if I do it first, George.
You know, don't tempt me. I will book a flight tonight. I will fly my ass down.
Yeah. I'm like, damn, George. Dang.
We should have a best grilled cheese Orlando showdown. You know, we have a nice grilled cheese over there at Mythos. We got one over at Woody's Lunchbox. That was really good too.
That is really good. So on our podcast, I'm on like my whole thing is I'm not a foodie, but my whole thing is like my ranking of burgers because I'm a burger guy, and so it's an evolving list. And I will say the over Walulu, which is the new Polynesian Tower, they have a Wayfinder burger. I think it's number 2 on Disney property. Number 1 being Steakhouse 71. And one of the best theme park burgers is Wimpy's in Islands of Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
It is fantastic.
Yep.
Like one of the best burgers. Probably in theme park burgers, the best one. But
we have
property.
We have Minions Cafe out here in Universal Hollywood, and they have a banger grilled cheese. It's really good.
Minions is actually we have one too. Minions is actually pretty solid.
We got to do a grilled cheese video, man. I'm telling you.
I would say honestly, if speaking of grilled cheese and burgers, where not to get your burger is at the Jurassic Park area.
Oh
yeah.
Literally, my cheese had bounce. Like, and I actually, and honestly, Mr. Webba actually filmed me, like, because I had to have people actually know what this. I think he still has the video. Like, literally, you could tap it and it bounced. I still have the cheese in me till this day.
Oh yeah, you never got rid of that. That's gonna be with you forever.
More bounce to the ounce, huh, George? More bounce to the ounce.
That's a memento. Hyrex Nexus Live says, I'm sure Universal has many plans, especially with Lost Continent, Simpsons, and expansions at Epic. But question, do you see a Horror Unleashed coming to Orlando too? I do not, because it would impede on HHN. I just don't see him doing it. I see him doing it in other places that are all over the country, but I just don't see it in Orlando.
I'm curious to see if they even go past Chicago, because even though that they made the announcement, obviously, and they'll do it, I just don't know. Having been to Horror Unleashed, I liked it. I really did. I would definitely do it again. But it just doesn't seem like it's drawing the market to get people to travel. And for as hustle and bustle as Vegas is, I mean, I know it lost a lot, in the progressing years, but still, Vegas is more of a pinpoint location than Chicago ever would be. So for people to not necessarily travel to Vegas to say, oh, I specifically have to go to see Horror Unleashed, and it's more so just within the realm that if someone happens to be in Vegas, it's like, oh, that's new, let's go check that out. I don't, honestly, after experiencing it, I don't know how many more that they would consider doing.
I'm curious as time goes on, like how the demand for this, right? Like, have we heard anything? How has it sustained decent? Like, I guess
I haven't heard anything yet. I'm very curious about January, February, that time period too.
I'll tell you, yeah, that's when you would really tell, because right now, even if it is booming, this is now going into the Halloween season.
Right.
So how is it
going to be seasonal?
Yeah. How is it going to be during Christmas? How is it going to be during, as Jared, as you said, like January, February, March? But I have to say, compared to the two, I did enjoy it. but I have to say HHN in the parks, it can't with Horror Unleashed can't hold a candle to HHN.
Yeah, I would agree with that. What was I had something we got another one here. Hold on.
Really quick, Jared. Wallen said the grilled cheese at Mythos is served inside a bowl of tomato soup with these pork belly chunks on it, and you eat it with a fork and knife, and it's probably the best single food item at all of Islands of Adventure.
It's pork belly?
Pork belly.
Okay. All right. I'm sold.
I'm sold too.
That sounds fantastic. I love pork belly.
Yep.
That sounds
well.
insane.
I'm catching a flight on Monday.
Dirty Little says grilled cheese showdown. Listen, if we're gonna do a grilled cheese showdown, I'm in. That sounds
okay. We're gonna do a grilled cheese showdown, yes, because we're gonna do it actually because when we come down, because that's when
we can do it in March and just
that's when we're doing it. Just clear
grilled
a
cheese and
table.
burgers. I will review those all day long.
Yes, that's what we're gonna do. So everyone, block out a day.
And don't underestimate this. We're not overselling a grilled cheese showdown. This is very important stuff.
Very
yeah, exactly.
Yes,
it's going to be like the breaking news banner about the latest findings of it. That could be an ongoing segment of trying the grilled cheeses different places. I think that'd be good. Lucas says just got to shave my head, wear sunglasses, work out, and build pecs, and then wear black tank top with jeans for the fast ride. I mean, I think I'm pretty set. I just got to wear the sunglasses. I just shaved my head now. I love shaving my head. It's so much easier now. I was like, I should have done this years ago. Let's see. Lucas says, for not knowing, for someone who religiously praises Mythos, not knowing about grilled cheese, George. Listen, you can't try every item. And usually grilled cheese is not something like I don't know.
Yeah, grilled cheese is usually something that I usually don't. I don't usually. The only time I really get a grilled cheese is at Beaches and Cream. Have you ever had the grilled cheese at Beaches and Cream?
Yeah, it's pretty good. If I remember, it's been a few years.
Yeah.
I had the Reuben there. I do like a Reuben. It was pretty decent.
The Reuben's good. Yes, I've had the Reuben there too. Now, I didn't really care for Beaches and Cream's tomato soup. It was too acidic.
Now, George, have you heard of Peaches and Cream by 112?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Great song. Great song.
Love that song.
I always thought it was just about fruit when I was a kid.
It is about fruit.
Why am I getting yelled at to turn this song off? I don't understand.
Is it though? Is it really?
I mean, it depends. It's like it was back when R&B had the lyrics weren't super obvious, and then certain ones came after that, and they're just
everyone is into the little fuzzies.
If you guys want to discover a band from the 90s that had a lot of innuendos in their songs, go check out the Bloodhound Gang and come back and think.
Oh yeah, they had a ton. Yeah, that is very true. They did. All right, I think we're gonna wrap up here because it's like 12:15. And Slimer, I feel like Slimer's getting tired. I'm getting tired. Are you getting tired, Slimer?
I would have known if I was. I'm always tired.
He's like, I'm in a different dimension at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say if Wizard wants to come in, he can hop in real quick if he's got something before we head out.
Mr. Wizard.
I need to get him. How do I get it to him? Do you have the link? You could text it to him.
Yeah, I can send it to him.
Okay, because I don't have my phone on me. I usually can text. I don't have my laptop open. Let's see. Hyrix Nexus Live says, I think I heard possible locations for 2 more Horror Unleashed and 2 more Universal Kids, but I'm taking that with a grain of salt. I mean, they're going to do more of those, undoubtedly. So
I see New York. I see one going to New York.
I think New York makes it. I've actually heard. Wizard said next. Okay, next up. Yeah, sorry. We got a little late start, and it's almost 12:15 here. So we'll next one. We'll work something out there. But appreciate you being here. What was I saying?
New York.
Yeah, New York. I've heard Washington State for a kids resort.
Interesting.
Oh,
that's interesting. Consider they have. Well, I don't live in Washington, but I assume it rains quite often there.
Yeah, it had to be almost indoors. So that's what I've heard. Again, I think they're going to do these. I think the kids resorts have much more potential than the Horror Unleashed, personally speaking. But we will see on that. But But I think this is where we'll wrap up. We had a really solid 2 hours here, and I think we hit some good topics here, and solved the problems. We got a mac and cheese challenge we're going to do now. Wallen Ballin has inspired us to go to Mythos again. I guess I'll go to Mythos again if I have to go back and do research.
Yes,
begrudgingly, I suppose. But we will wrap up here. I say that very condescendingly. I speak sarcasm. Before we go, we'll let everybody say their hello or goodbyes. I can't talk tonight. It's late for me. Anything I say at this point, just disregard. So don't expect too much out of me. But thank you, everybody, from the chat for being here. Orange Grove 55, thank you, as always, for being here. It's always a great time hanging out over here and over on your channel. And where can everybody find you and your internet wares?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jared and George and Slimer and everybody in the chat. Really good conversations tonight. Yeah, you can find me here on YouTube at Orange Grove 55. We talk a lot about theme parks, movies. I mean, we even talk about the pyramids, right, Jared? I mean, we talk about...
And we're going to talk about, like, consciousness. Like, I love that stuff. I could talk about that for, like, hours.
Oh, hell yeah. We do a lot of great stuff over there at OG55, Orange Grove 55. So check us out on YouTube. Also on Instagram, Orange Grove 55. And make sure everybody smash that like button and show some love for Capture the Magic.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. I always forget that. Yeah, the like button helped with that. Definitely appreciate that. And thank you guys for being here. And George the Italiano, thank you for being here. And where can everybody find you and your luscious hair and your thick beard and your pool filter clogging ways?
you had it right, and then you had to just like end
sorry,
it. Like,
I didn't want to build you up too much. I had to bring it down to like medium level. I'm sorry. I'll edit that part out.
Yeah, I'm good. But anyways, Jared, thank you for having me on. It's always a great time talking theme parks and all this stuff with you gentlemen. And everyone, if you'd like to find me, you could do so on my YouTube channel, Hollow Gelato, where me and my fiance Abby, we go around the parks doing all sorts of different activities. We do food reviews, like I'm going to do at Mythos with the grilled cheese. So thank you to Wallen Ballin for that one. And yeah, we do other stuff too. We do out of theater reaction reviews, all that good stuff. But you could also find us on Instagram as well under Hollow Gelato.
You know, I want to hear Ja Rule say "Hollow, hollow."
That's a good idea, actually. I was gonna say Abby. I know she was uncomfortable a little bit, but she's getting a lot better on the camera, like getting more used to it. She's doing, especially like the
I'm surprised because I remember like when we first got together, she was like, "No, I'm camera shy. I want like nothing to do with it." And then a year later, I'm like, "Here, babe, you're gonna take over the live while I go hide, and people have to try to find me at Disneyland."
Yeah. Well, that's the same thing with my wife. She's very introverted, but after doing the podcast, everything, like she's still introverted, but she's very good at doing it. And so it's like, yeah, you kind of find your groove with that stuff and get a little more comfortable. I was also going to say, I could see myself going into Mythos, think I'm going to beat George. And there's some movie where this scene happens. I can't remember what it is, but I'm going to walk in and George just turns around and be like, "Oh, hey," like a mouthful of mac and cheese. I'm like, son of a bitch. Like, oh, I didn't even say anything. He's just going to be there and just with a half grin on his face recording the live. I'm like, gosh.
Yeah, I'd be like, "Hey, Jared, just come over, sit down." He's like, "Oh, no, it's okay. I already had a reservation. He could just join me."
Like, he always one-ups me, even across the coast. But yeah, thank you for being here, and go check out the rebranded channel. And Mr. Slime Square, thank you for being here, sir. And where can everyone find you and your we'll say your funny commentary on theme parks that you like to post on social media, which I thoroughly enjoy.
Well, and just being sexy in general.
Well, sure. I mean, you do look like Blue Steel right there a little bit. Like you're kind of like he's posing for the thumbnail.
I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult, but I'll take
a compliment. Listen, Blue Steel is the move everybody wants.
Okay, all right. Well, listen, Jared, I appreciate you having me on. A pleasure discussing theme parks with you guys. Always fun. Theme parking is where it's at. We have so many people in the house this evening. It was a really fun chat. Thank you guys for the engagements. I really appreciate it. It made the conversation flow, and we always appreciate when you guys engage with us. We lost Jared, but
I'm still here. My camera just decided to
okay, all right. But as far as we can find me, I'm a commentator on Orange Grove 55 with these boys right here. You can find me on X at Slime Square, and you can find me on Instagram where I post theme park reels at Slime Square 84.
Very good. I had another thing I was going to add. Oh, this show is now on actual podcast on Spotify. I added it on there. So if anybody wants to listen on regular podcasts, it is on there now. You can subscribe. So if you guys wouldn't mind subscribing there, leave us a review there. We just posted over there. Its own thing. We'll post the episodes on there. And then before you go, if anybody does want some theme park apparel, pop culture stuff, or you want to contribute to the channel, CTM Apparel, that is our apparel company. My wife and I, and we print all the shirts in-house. We don't use third-party printers. We design the shirts as well. So we got a whole bunch of Epic Universe shirts, Disney shirts. I'm looking for some new ideas all the time on things. Got a Jungle Cruise one there. So we got a lot of shirts you can check out if you got a trip coming up or you just want some comfortable shirts. And they are comfortable because I am a stickler for comfort. I'm very picky, so they're very comfortable. You can do like comfort colors, hoodies, whatever you want with the fall and winter coming up. And if you go to cteamapparelco.com, use the promo code YouTube, you can actually get 20% off of your order. And if you order $49 more, you get free shipping as well. So if anybody wants to go over
and I honestly you should do Mythos forever. Because
I actually thought about that. Yeah. I've actually wrote it down. I made a little note because I even if it's just for me and you, I would just wear it all the time.
What about a grilled cheese shirt? That'd be pretty dope too.
Listen, the grilled cheese has to come, but we got to do our grilled cheese.
We'll have how about I'll do a food like series, like a series of 3 or 4 shirts around food. And then part of it, if we're gonna do the mac and cheese challenge, it's gonna become part of it. And then we'll help promote mac and cheese. And we'll tell Mythos that they can thank Wall and Ballin for that. But yeah, so go check that out, cteamapparelco.com, and get yourself some good shirts there. And I really appreciate everybody being here. Thank you, Lucas, for the super chat. Thank you, everybody, for participating. It's fun, interacting with everybody and adding to the conversation. And we will catch you guys on the next one. Have a great night and a great weekend.